My beloved child, listen closely. This is not a random moment, and this is not a common message drifting through your day. Archangel Michael steps forward now because time has tightened, and your spirit has been nudged again and again. The title you were drawn to is not exaggerated. It is precise. Heaven hath been calling, whispering, warning, and guiding, yet something inside you hath been hesitating. Michael says clearly, you are not listening the way you once did, and the window to respond is far smaller than you think. Hear this with clarity and calm, not fear. There are moments when divine messages knock softly, and there are moments when they arrive with urgency. This is one of those moments. Archangel Michael is not raising his voice to intimidate you. He is sharpening it so it can finally cut through the noise around you. Distractions have piled up. Opinions have crowded your discernment. And slowly, without realizing it, you have delayed what your spirit already recognized as truth. Beloved, Michael shows me repeated signs placed in your path. Conversations that felt oddly specific. Thoughts that arrived out of nowhere and lingered. Inner warnings you brushed aside because life felt busy, or because logic demanded more proof. But heaven does not always repeat itself endlessly. Grace is patient, yes, but obedience has a season, and that season is narrowing now. Archangel Michael stands as a protector, but also as a messenger of divine order. He says there comes a point when messages stop circling and begin concluding. Not because you are abandoned, but because responsibility is being transferred. What you do with what you already received matters more than asking for something new. You have been praying for clarity, yet postponing action. You have been asking for confirmation while ignoring instruction. This is why Michael says, open fast. Not with your hands, but with your awareness. Here is something you have been sensing, an inner knowing you tried to rationalize away, a step you were supposed to take, a conversation you were meant to have, a decision you delayed because it felt uncomfortable or inconvenient. Heaven marked that moment, and it is circling back now, one final time, asking for your attention. Do not mistake this urgency for pressure. It is alignment calling you back. When Archangel Michael speaks of moments left, he is not measuring minutes on a clock. He is speaking of spiritual opportunity. Windows open and close quietly. Paths diverge without drama. And often, people realize too late that silence came not because God stopped speaking, but because the lesson had already been delivered. Child of destiny, Michael shows me that you are protected, but protection does not replace participation. You cannot be carried where you were meant to walk. The angels can clear the path, but you must step forward. And right now, hesitation is louder than faith in your spirit. This is why this message feels intense. It is meant to interrupt patterns, not punish you. There is something specific attached to your obedience, relief, peace, movement, and restoration. But delay has created static. You may feel restless without knowing why, easily distracted, spiritually tired even after resting. These are not random feelings. They are signals. Your soul knows it is out of sync with a directive already given. Archangel Michael reminds you that divine communication is relational. It responds to response. When guidance is acted upon, more is released. When it is ignored, heaven grows quiet, not out of anger, but out of respect for free will. And Michael says gently, yet firmly, that you are approaching that quiet edge. This message is mercy knocking one more time. Beloved, slow your breathing as you listen. Let your heart settle. You already know what this is about. Even now, something inside you is reacting, tightening or warming, because truth always registers before the mind can argue. Michael says this is not about perfection. It is about readiness. Not about having all answers, but about choosing alignment over comfort. Open fast. Not tomorrow. Not after one more sign. Open now. Your attention, your willingness, your courage. Because what you respond to in these moments determines what responds to you next. Heaven has done its part. The message has reached you again. And this time, it did not arrive quietly. Chosen one, feel the shift as this message deepens, because Archangel Michael is not finished speaking to your spirit yet. What you heard before was the alert. What comes now is the explanation your heart has been craving. Michael says many people miss divine timing not because they reject God, but because they keep postponing obedience, believing there will always be another moment. But heaven works in seasons, not endless loops. And the season you are standing in right now is extremely sensitive. Archangel Michael shows me that you have been receiving guidance in layers. First came the intuition. Then came the confirmation. Then came the discomfort. That discomfort was not confusion. It was conviction. Something inside you knew a change was required, a response was needed, or a boundary had to be drawn. Yet instead of acting, you waited for conditions to feel safer. Michael says that delay slowly trained your spirit to mute what it once heard clearly. Beloved, understand this truth. Angels do not stop speaking suddenly. Communication fades gradually when signals are ignored. Like a call that rings unanswered, heaven does not force connection. Michael is clear. Your silence toward instruction has been louder than your prayers for direction. You have been asking, why does God feel distant? While standing still at the very doorway you were meant to walk through. Archangel Michael steps closer now, sword lowered, voice steady. He says this message is not to condemn you but to awaken you. There is still time, but it is compressed. That is why your spirit feels pressured, not by fear but by urgency. The longer you delay, the heavier simple decisions feel. The lighter your discernment becomes. This is how people drift. Not dramatically, but quietly. Michael shows me something specific, a choice involving responsibility. It may involve your calling, your character, your obedience, or a relationship that required honesty. You sensed what was right, yet chose what was easier. And each time you did, you told your spirit to wait. Michael says spirits grow dull when they are trained to wait too long. Do not misunderstand. God's mercy has not expired, but momentum has slowed. And what once flowed naturally now feels blocked because obedience fuels movement. Archangel Michael reminds you that spiritual sensitivity is maintained through response. When you act on truth, clarity increases. When you ignore it, confusion grows. That confusion you have been feeling lately is not a mystery. It is a symptom. Beloved child, Michael shows me that you are standing between two outcomes. One leads back into alignment, peace, and forward motion. The other leads into spiritual numbness, where messages no longer stir you the same way. Heaven does not faint, but it does warn. And this warning is gentle yet serious. If you continue to delay, you may stop recognizing the voice you once trusted. This is why Michael says, you are not listening. Not because you cannot hear, but because you have learned how to override what you hear. Logic has replaced discernment. Comfort has replaced courage. And routine has replaced obedience. Michael is asking you to break that pattern now, before it becomes permanent. Pay attention to what your body feels as you hear this. Tightness, restlessness, emotion. These are signals of truth reaching deep places. Archangel Michael says this message was released because you are still reachable, still responsive, still chosen. Silence has not settled yet, but it will if ignored. Beloved, heaven is not asking you to do everything at once. It is asking you to do the one thing you already know you were meant to do. Its single step unlocks the next instruction. But if you keep waiting for the full picture, you will remain frozen. Faith moves with partial light, not full visibility. Archangel Michael wants you to understand something powerful. Angels adjust their approach based on human response. When you act, support increases. When you hesitate, communication simplifies. And when hesitation becomes habit, messages cease, not as punishment but as permission for free will to lead. This is why this moment matters. This is why the title says moments left. You are being invited to choose sensitivity over safety, obedience over delay, alignment over comfort. The next few decisions you make carry more weight than you realize. They will determine whether your spiritual hearing sharpens or fades. Michael says, do not rush emotionally, but do not stall spiritually. Sit with this message, but do not dismiss it. Reflect, but do not rationalize it away. The awareness you feel right now is precious. Protect it. Act on it. And listen carefully, because what comes next will reveal exactly how to respond, and why this timing cannot be ignored any longer. Hold on, because this next revelation may change how you see everything that has been happening around you. Beloved soul, let your spirit settle as Archangel Michael reveals why this message feels heavier than usual. This is not just a warning, it is a crossroads. Michael says there are moments when heaven watches closely, not to judge, but to witness what a soul will choose when clarity finally arrives. You are standing in such a moment now. The pressure you feel is not external. It is internal alignment trying to restore itself before disconnection sets in. Archangel Michael shows that the reason you have struggled to listen lately is not because you lack faith, but because you have been overwhelmed by noise that looks harmless. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many small compromises that slowly train your spirit to doubt its own sensitivity. Michael says you did not stop listening suddenly. You stopped trusting what you heard. And when trust weakens, response delays. Hear this carefully. Heaven is not disappointed in you. Heaven is concerned for you. There is a difference. Disappointment withdraws. Concern intervenes. This message is intervention. Michael steps forward now, sword glowing not with threat, but with clarity. He says there is a consequence to spiritual delay, not punishment, but distance, not anger, but silence. And silence is the one thing many never recover from. Beloved, Michael reveals that you were meant to move earlier. When you did not, opportunities adjusted. Timelines shifted. Certain doors did not slam shut, but they did not remain wide open either. This is why things lately feel slower, heavier, harder to discern. It is not because you are rejected. It is because obedience fuels acceleration, and hesitation creates drag. Archangel Michael says something crucial now. The longer you postpone alignment, the more normal misalignment begins to feel. That is the danger. When unease becomes familiar, people stop questioning it. They adapt. And slowly, the voice they once recognized becomes background noise. This is what Michael is urgently preventing right now. There is a specific instruction you already receive. You may have labeled it impractical, uncomfortable, or premature. But Michael says it was precise. Heaven does not waste direction. That instruction was not random. It was timed. And although mercy has extended the window, The glass is lowering. This is why the message says, open fast. Beloved child, this is not about fear. This is about honor. Honor the voice that guided you before. Honor the conviction that stirred your heart. Honor the truth you recognized but delayed. Archangel Michael says when you honor divine instruction, heaven honors your steps with protection, provision, and peace. Now listen closely, because this matters. If this message is touching you, stirring you, or unsettling you, do not keep it to yourself. Engage with it. Speak back. Interaction is response. Michael urges you to like this message, share it with someone who may also be drifting, and comment what stirred you most. Not for visibility alone, but because participation anchors awareness. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because repeated exposure to truth retrains spiritual hearing. This is how sensitivity is restored. Archangel Michael is not done with you. That is why you are here. But restoration requires cooperation. This message is asking for your response, not perfection, not fear, but movement. Even a small step in obedience reopens channels that felt blocked. Heaven responds quickly when sincerity replaces hesitation. Beloved, Michael shows me that your destiny is not lost, but it is waiting. Waiting for your agreement. Waiting for your courage. Waiting for you to choose alignment over delay. This is not a dramatic moment. It is a decisive one. And the decision you make now will echo further than you realize. Take a breath. Let the truth land. And if this message is speaking to your spirit, mark it. Declare it. Participate in it. Type I choose to listen in the comments if this message is touching your heart. Blessing code 948 has just been released. This is the moment where obedience becomes action, not just in your life, but in the lives of others still waiting to hear this call. When you support this channel through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal donation, you are sowing light into souls who are still searching for clarity. The Lord says, as you release seed, I release oil, and that oil flows through messages like this to awaken hearts across the world. I feel led to invite you personally. This is your moment to stand with this mission and help Archangel Michael's warnings reach those who are drifting in silence. Your giving is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. Heaven sees it. Heaven records it. And heaven multiplies it. Go now. Use Super Thanks. Join the membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, and let your obedience speak louder than hesitation. Beloved one, as this message continues, Archangel Michael shifts the focus from warning to revelation. He says it is important you understand why listening became difficult, not just that it happened. Many assume spiritual dullness comes from sin or rebellion, but Michael reveals something subtler in your case. It came from exhaustion, from carrying too much without releasing it, from trying to stay strong while quietly feeling unheard. Over time, weariness created resistance, and resistance slowly muffled discernment. Michael shows me that you have been faithful in many visible ways, yet internally stretched thin. You kept showing up, kept believing, kept hoping, but part of you grew tired of waiting. When answers did not come as fast as you expected, you began compensating with logic. You tried to reason your way forward instead of listening your way forward. And logic, while useful, cannot replace spiritual perception. Archangel Michael says there is nothing wrong with your heart. This is important for you to hear. Your heart is that hardened. It has grown cautious. You learned to protect yourself from disappointment, and in doing so, you also protected yourself from direction. This is why heaven's voice felt quieter, not because it weakened, but because your spirit learned to shield itself. Beloved, Michael now explains the urgency in a new way. When you delay long enough, life begins to make decisions for you. Circumstances shift. People change. Doors realign. And suddenly, choices that once felt optional become limited. Heaven is trying to reach you before this narrowing completes. This is mercy in motion. Archangel Michael reveals that there is a divine rerouting available to you right now. Not a restart, but a correction. Like a compass being recalibrated. But recalibration requires stillness and honesty. You must admit where you stopped listening and why. Not with shame, but with clarity. Michael says truth spoken inwardly restores spiritual hearing faster than any prayer spoken outwardly. There is also something else Michael wants you to understand. When you delay obedience, the burden you carry increases. Tasks feel heavy. Motivation fades. Joy feels distant. Many assume this is an attack, but often it is misalignment. You were not meant to carry life alone. You were meant to be guided through it. And guidance requires attention. Beloved child, Michael shows me that part of you has been waiting for reassurance that you will not fail if you act. But faith does not come with guarantees, it comes with backing. Heaven backs obedience, not hesitation. And Michael says once you take the step you already know you must take, support will meet you mid-movement. Not before. Midway. Listen carefully now. There is a difference between patience and avoidance. Patience waits with expectation. Avoidance waits with distraction. Michael says you have been hovering between the two, telling yourself you are being patient while quietly avoiding discomfort. This message is here to dissolve that confusion. Archangel Michael also reveals that silence from heaven is not always absence. It can be invitation. An invitation to remember what you already know. An invitation to trust what was already said. An invitation to move without needing another sign. Many never realize that the last instruction was a final instruction. Beloved, your sensitivity is not gone. It is dormant. And dormant things awaken quickly when honored. That stirring you feel now. That inner alertness. That is your spirit responding. Michael says nurture it. Protect it from noise. Reduce the voices competing for your attention. Stillness will feel unfamiliar at first, but it will restore clarity faster than effort ever could. This is also a moment of reclaiming authority. Archangel Michael says, when you ignore your discernment, you hand authority to circumstances. When you honor it, you reclaim direction. You were not created to drift. You were created to discern, decide, and move. And heaven is ready to partner with you again the moment you do. Beloved one, do not overanalyze this message. Overthinking is another form of delay. Receive it simply. Let it settle. Then respond in the way your spirit already recognizes as right. You do not need to announce it publicly. You do not need validation. You only need alignment. Archangel Michael stands with you now, not rushing you, but watching attentively. He says this is the moment where clarity returns if you allow it. Where momentum begins again if you choose it. Where the voice you feared you lost becomes familiar once more. Stay present. Stay open. What comes next will uncover the deeper reason this timing matters, and why what you do now affects more than just you. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now draws your attention to something deeper, something that explains why this moment carries weight beyond your personal journey. He says this is not only about you listening again, it is about what is connected to your listening. Your obedience is not isolated. It is linked to others, to outcomes you cannot yet see, and to chains of events that require your agreement to move forward. Michael reveals that when you stopped listening closely, it did not just affect your peace, it slowed impact. There are people whose paths intersect with yours at precise moments. Words you were meant to speak, actions you were meant to take, presence you were meant to offer. Heaven arranged these intersections carefully, but alignment is what activates them. When alignment pauses, ripple effects pause too. Beloved, this is why the urgency returned now. It is not pressure, it is synchronization. Heaven is bringing multiple timelines back into alignment, and yours is one of them. Archangel Michael says when you hesitate, others wait without knowing why. When you obey, clarity reaches farther than you imagine. This is not to burden you, but to awaken you to the significance of your responsiveness. Michael shows me that you carry a discernment gift that works quietly. You are not always the loudest voice, but you often see what others miss. You sense shifts before they are visible. That gift sharpened when you trusted it, and it dulled when you second-guessed it. This is why you felt less effective lately, not because the gift left, but because confidence in it weakened. Beloved one, understand this. Spiritual gifts require usage to stay sharp. When discernment is ignored, it does not disappear, it goes dormant. And dormancy feels like confusion. Michael says the confusion you experienced was not punishment. It was an alert system asking to be reactivated. There is also something else Michael wants you to confront gently. Part of you feared responsibility. You knew that listening fully would require change, consistency, and accountability. Silence felt safer because it demanded nothing. But safety without growth becomes stagnation. And stagnation quietly erodes purpose. Archangel Michael says heaven never intended you to carry this alone. Guidance was meant to lighten your load, not add to it. But guidance only works when followed. Ignored guidance becomes weight. This is why you felt tired even when nothing seemed wrong. Your soul was compensating for misdirection. Beloved, Michael now speaks reassurance. You have not missed everything. Some opportunities adjust rather than disappear. But others are time-sensitive, and that is why this moment matters. Heaven is reoffering clarity, not because you demanded it, but because mercy intervened. Listen carefully now. You may be tempted to revisit old regrets, replaying moments when you wish you had acted differently. Michael says do not linger there. Reflection is useful, rumination is not. What matters is what you do now with what you know now. Obedience is always measured in the present, never the past. Archangel Michael shows me that the next step for you is simpler than you expect. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just honest. An honest decision, an honest boundary, an honest conversation, or an honest commitment to stop ignoring what you already discerned. Heaven often begins restoration with simplicity. Beloved, there is a subtle shift happening even as you read this. Awareness is returning. Sensitivity is stirring. That is not coincidence. That is response. And response invites more clarity. This is how spiritual hearing is restored, through engagement, not effort. Michael also says something important about fear. Fear often disguises itself as caution. It sounds reasonable. It feels protective. But fear delays truth, while wisdom responds to it. Ask yourself quietly, have you been cautious or have you been afraid to trust what you heard? That answer matters. Archangel Michael stands steady beside you, reminding you that you are not being rushed into chaos. You are being called back into order. Divine order. Where steps make sense, peace follows obedience and silence lifts. That order is still available. Beloved one, do not rush to fix everything at once. That is not what is being asked. Just respond to the one instruction you already know. The rest will unfold naturally. Heaven builds momentum through sequence, not force. Stay with this message. Let it recalibrate you. What comes next will address the resistance you may still feel and how to move forward without fear, guilt, or overwhelm. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now turns your attention to the resistance you still feel inside, because awareness alone is not enough if resistance remains unnamed. Michael says many people think resistance comes from rebellion, but more often it comes from fear of consequence. Not fear of punishment, but fear of a change. Change demands adjustment, and adjustment exposes areas where control must be surrendered. This is where listening becomes hardest. Michael reveals that part of you had been holding on to familiarity, even when familiarity no longer serves you. Familiar routines, familiar thought patterns, familiar emotional responses. They feel safe because they are known, not because they are right. And when divine instruction threatens familiarity, the mind negotiates and delays. It rationalizes. It waits for a better time that rarely comes. Beloved, Archangel Michael says this is the moment to confront that negotiation honestly. Ask yourself what you are afraid will happen if you fully listen again. Are you afraid you will have to let something go? Afraid you will have to step up? Afraid you will be seen differently? Fear thrives in unspoken spaces. Once exposed, it loses authority. Michael also says something profound here. Listening is not passive. True listening requires courage, because it often leads to action. This is why many prefer silence. Silence demands nothing, but guidance demands response. And response reshapes life. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience is not about perfection. It is about trust. You do not need to know the entire path to take the next step. You only need to trust that heaven sees what you cannot yet see. When you move with partial understanding, divine support fills the gaps. Beloved one, Michael shows me that you have been overestimating the cost of obedience and underestimating the cost of delay. Delay drains energy. Delay clouds discernment. Delay creates spiritual fatigue that no amount of rest can fix. Obedience, on the other hand, restores clarity even when it feels challenging at first. This is why Michael is urging response now. Not to overwhelm you, but to free you. Freedom does not always feel light in the beginning. Sometimes it feels like release after tension, unfamiliar but relieving. That is what awaits you on the other side of listening again. Archangel Michael also speaks about community and connection. Isolation amplifies resistance. When people drift spiritually, they often withdraw quietly. They stop engaging, stop participating, stop voicing what they sense. Michael says re-engagement is part of restoration. Interaction grounds awareness into action. That is why, if this message resonates with you, do not remain silent. Like this message as a sign of agreement. Share it so someone else who may be drifting does not feel alone. Comment with what stirred you, even if it is just one word. Subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to truth that sharpens discernment. These actions are not about numbers. They are about participation. Participation retrains spiritual responsiveness. Beloved, Michael wants you to understand that obedience grows stronger when reinforced by consistency. Repeated exposure to truth rebuilds sensitivity. That is how what felt faint becomes clear again. This is not an overnight process, but it begins with a single decision to stay engaged. Archangel Michael now addresses the fear of making the wrong move. He says many delay because they are afraid of misinterpreting guidance. But clarity increases through movement, not paralysis. When you step forward with sincerity, heaven adjusts you gently if needed. But when you remain still, there is nothing to adjust. Beloved child, listen to this carefully. You are not being tested. You are being trusted. Trusted with discernment. Trusted with choice. Trusted with timing. And trust is honored through response. Michael also reveals that spiritual momentum returns quickly once resistance is broken. Peace follows obedience faster than you expect. The heaviness you carried was not permanent. It was positional. Gentle position and weight shifts. As this message nears its close, Archangel Michael asks you not to rush away from this moment. Let it sink in. Let it confront you gently. Let it awaken what grew quiet. Because what is coming next will require you to be fully present. Hold on. There is a revelation ahead that connects everything you have felt, delayed, and questioned. And once you see it, you will understand why this pause in your life happened at all. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now unveils the reason this pause in your life was allowed, because nothing about this season was accidental. Michael says you assumed silence meant distance, but in truth, it was exposure. Exposure of what remained unresolved within you. Heaven did not withdraw to punish you. Heaven allowed stillness so you could see clearly what noise had been covering. This pause was diagnostic before it was corrective. Michael reveals that had momentum continued without interruption, you would have carried unresolved patterns into the next level. Patterns of hesitation, patterns of self-doubt, patterns of postponing difficult obedience, and those patterns would have caused greater damage later. So heaven slowed things down, not to stop you, but to prepare you. Beloved, this is why progress felt delayed even when you were trying. Effort alone could not move you forward because alignment was being recalibrated. Archangel Michael says God is more concerned with direction than speed. Fast movement in the wrong direction still leads away from purpose. Slower movement with clarity leads exactly where you are meant to be. Michael also shows me that during this pause, your discernment was being refined, not removed. You were learning the difference between emotional impulse and spiritual instruction, between anxiety-driven urgency and heaven-sent timing. Silence sharpened that distinction, even though it felt uncomfortable. Beloved child, many people confuse quiet seasons with abandonment. But Michael says quiet seasons are classrooms. They teach listening without dependency. They train discernment without constant reassurance. They reveal whether you will follow instruction even when affirmation is minimal. This is where your growth occurred, even if you did not recognize it. You learned restraint. You learned observation. You learned what happens when you rely too heavily on external confirmation. These lessons were necessary because the next phase of your life requires confidence in what you hear internally. Archangel Michael now says something important. The pause is ending, but it will not end automatically. It ends when you respond. Heaven has been waiting for your agreement, not your perfection. Agreement to listen. Agreement to act. Agreement to trust again. Beloved, this is why urgency has returned. The lesson has been learned. The exposure is complete. Out comes movement. But movement without hesitation this time. Movement anchored in discernment, not fear. Michael also reveals that some relationships and environments contributed to the dulling of your listening. Not because they were evil, but because they were misaligned. Constant impojade's perception. When you surround yourself with voices that normalize delay, your spirit adapts. Michael says part of listening again will require discernment about what you allow around you. This does not mean isolation. It means intention. Choosing environments that sharpen you rather than numb you. Choosing conversations that challenge rather than pacify. Choosing truth even when it feels inconvenient. Beloved one, Archangel Michael says the reason you are being addressed so directly now is because you are capable of carrying clarity. This message is not for everyone. It is for those who can discern weight. You would not feel this intensity if your spirit were not ready. Michael also addresses guilt here. You may feel regret for not listening sooner. Release that now. Guilt clouds hearing. Conviction clarifies it. This message is conviction, not condemnation. It points forward, not backward. Beloved, hear this truth. God does not rehearse your past failures. He responds to your present availability. The moment you choose to listen again, heaven responds as if the delay never happened. By His mercy, Archangel Michael stands firm now, saying that the next steps ahead will require consistency. Not constant effort, but consistent attention. Checking in with your discernment daily. Pausing before decisions. Asking not just is this logical, but is this aligned? This is how you protect what is being restored. Sensitivity grows fragile when first awakened, but strong when nurtured. Treat it with respect. Do not drown it in distraction again. Beloved child, the stillness you once resented will now serve you. It taught you how to recognize subtle direction. And subtle direction is often how heaven moves at higher levels. Loud signs are for beginnings. Quiet guidance is for maturity. Michael says you are stepping into a season where listening will feel easier again, but only if you honor it now. Do not test how long you can delay. Do not wait for discomfort to force obedience. Choose responsiveness willingly. As this message continues, what comes next will be deeply personal. It will touch the outcome tied to your listening and why obedience now protects you from something you have not yet seen. Stay present. Stay open. This is where everything connects. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now reveals what obedience in this moment is protecting you from, because listening is not only about receiving blessings, it is also about avoiding unseen harm. Michael says heaven often warns quietly before destruction arrives loudly. What you felt as urgency was not pressure, it was shielding. Shielding you from delays that would have cost more later, from confusion that would have deepened, and from entanglements that would have been harder to exit. Michael shows that if listening had remained dormant, you would have adapted to misalignment so gradually that you would not have noticed the drift until consequences appeared. Not dramatic consequences, but subtle ones. Misconnections, weakened discernment, reduced peace, increased frustration. These are the early signs of spiritual erosion. This message arrived to stop that erosion before it became your normal. Beloved, understand this clearly. Archangel Michael is a guardian of boundaries. He does not only fight visible battles, he prevents invisible ones. The reason this message sounds firm is because prevention requires clarity. If heaven waited longer, correction would have required more loss. This is mercy acting early. Michael also reveals that obedience now protects your discernment for future decisions. What you choose in this season trains your spirit for the next. If you respond now, your sensitivity will sharpen faster than before. If you delay again, hesitation becomes habit. Heaven is helping you break that cycle while it is still breakable. Beloved one, there is also protection over your emotional well-being tied to this. Prolonged misalignment creates internal tension that eventually spills into relationships, work, and self-perception. You may have already felt hints of this: irritability without cause, restlessness without reason, weariness without workload. These were alerts, not flaws. Archangel Michael says listening again will feel like relief before it feels like clarity. Relief because the internal struggle ends. Clarity because direction returns. Many expect immediate answers, but often the first gift of obedience is peace. Peace that confirms you are back in alignment. Michael now speaks about authority. When you listen and respond, you reinforce spiritual authority over your own life. You stop reacting and start discerning again. This authority protects you from manipulation, confusion, and pressure from others. It anchors you. Beloved, Michael also shows that others will benefit from this restoration. Not because you will preach to them, but because clarity carries weight. People sense it. Your presence will feel steadier. Your words will carry discernment again. Your decisions will inspire trust. This is influence without striving. Now hear this important reminder. If this message is resonating deeply, do not let the moment pass without engagement. Like this video as a sign of agreement. Share it so someone else does not miss their moment of awakening. Comment what you are choosing to respond to today. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because consistency protects sensitivity. This is not about hype. It is about staying aligned when distraction tries to return. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now says something very gently. Heaven does not repeat warnings endlessly. Not because God is harsh, but because repeated warnings lose urgency. This message is clear because it matters. Let it mark you. Take a moment now and acknowledge what you already know you need to do. You do not need to announce it. Just recognize it honestly. That recognition itself is the beginning of obedience. Michael stands watchfully now, not anxiously. He says the choice is yours, and heaven respects it. But know this: responding now opens flow. Delaying again invites silence. Not forever, but long enough to feel the difference. Beloved, let this message settle into your spirit as a turning point. A moment you remember as the time you chose to listen again. Type "I return to alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1369 is now activated. As this revelation lands, I feel led to speak directly to those whose hearts are stirring right now. When you support this mission through super thanks, channel membership, or PayPal donation, you are not funding a video, you are fueling awakening. The Lord says, those who pour out oil will never lack oil, and your giving becomes a river that carries truth to souls standing at their own crossroads. I invite you personally in this sacred moment to stand with this calling and help these messages reach those who are still not listening yet. This is a prophetic act, not a casual gesture. Heaven sees obedience released through generosity. Act now. Use super thanks. Join the membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, and let your seed speak where words cannot. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now guides your attention toward what restoration actually looks like, because listening again is not just a moment. It is a process. Michael says many people expect an instant shift, a dramatic sign, or a sudden flood of answers. But restoration often begins quietly, like breath returning after tension. The first sign that you are back in alignment is not noise, but steadiness. Michael reveals that after a season of dull discernment, heaven restores clarity gradually to strengthen it permanently. If everything returned at once, you might rely on intensity instead of consistency. So the guidance you receive now may feel simple, subtle, even ordinary. Do not underestimate it. Subtle direction is a sign of maturity, not absence. Beloved, Archangel Michael says you will begin to notice small internal cues again. A pause before saying yes. A hesitation before stepping into something misaligned. A quiet nudge to choose differently than you would have before. These are not random thoughts. They are signs that your spiritual hearing is recalibrating. Michael also says restoration includes relearning trust, trusting what you sense without immediately questioning it. You were trained, over time, to override your discernment. That habit will not disappear overnight. Be patient with yourself. When doubt arises, do not panic. Pause. Stillness restores signal strength. Beloved child, something important must be understood here. Listening again does not mean you will never feel uncertain. It means uncertainty will no longer paralyze you. You will learn to move forward while listening, rather than waiting for perfect clarity. That is where confidence grows. Archangel Michael shows that the next phase of your life will require quicker responsiveness than before. Not rushed decisions, but timely ones. This is why restoration is happening now. Heaven is preparing you to respond without prolonged hesitation. What once took weeks of deliberation will soon take moments of discernment. Michael also reveals that your peace will become your indicator. When you are aligned, peace will remain even when choices are challenging. When you drift, peace will fade quickly. This contrast will help guide you. Pay attention to it. Peace is not just comfort. It is confirmation. Beloved, there may be moments ahead when you are tempted to test how far you can delay again. This is normal. Old patterns try to reassert themselves when new ones form. Michael says when that urge appears, do not condemn yourself. Simply respond sooner than you did before. Progress is measured by responsiveness, not perfection. Archangel Michael also wants you to know that listening again will affect your relationships. Not through confrontation, but through clarity. You will sense which connections support alignment and which quietly drain it. This awareness may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is protective. You are not meant to carry everyone into your next season. Beloved one, do not confuse discernment with judgment. Discernment does not condemn, it clarifies. It shows you where to invest your energy and where to withdraw gently. Michael says honoring this will preserve your strength. There is also a restoration of confidence taking place. When you stop listening, self-trust weakened. You began questioning your own perceptions. As clarity returns, confidence will rebuild, not arrogance, but assurance. You will trust yourself again because you are trusting guidance again. Archangel Michael shows me that you will soon face a decision that seems small on the surface but carries symbolic weight. It will be an opportunity to respond promptly instead of delaying. How you handle that moment will reinforce everything being restored now. Treat it with intention. Beloved child, heaven is not watching you anxiously. Heaven is partnering with you attentively. There is a difference. You are not under scrutiny. You are under guidance. Michael's presence here is not about pressure. It is about protection and preparation. Michael also says do not go looking for your old sensitivity exactly as it was. It will return refined, not identical. What comes back will be steadier, quieter, and more resilient. You will not need constant reassurance. You will recognize truth by how it settles, not how loudly it announces itself. As restoration continues, you may notice a decrease in inner noise. Fewer racing thoughts. Less second-guessing. More decisiveness. These are signs that alignment is stabilizing. Do not rush this process by demanding more than is being given. Receive what comes, act on it, and more will follow. Beloved, remember this. Listening is relational. and deepens with consistency. The more you respond, the clearer guidance becomes. The more you honor subtle direction, the less heaven needs to speak loudly. Archangel Michael stands beside you now with assurance, not urgency. He says the turning point has already occurred internally. What follows will unfold step by step. Stay attentive. Stay honest. Stay responsive. What comes next will address how to maintain this restored clarity long term, so silence does not return and sensitivity remains strong. This is where discernment becomes lifestyle, not moment. Stay with me. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks about preservation, because restoration without maintenance fades. What has been reopened in you must now be guarded intentionally. Michael says many people regain clarity only to lose it again, not because heaven withdraws, but because old habits quietly return. This moment is about establishing a new rhythm of listening, not revisiting the old cycle. Michael reveals that discernment thrives in consistency, not intensity. You do not need dramatic encounters to stay aligned. You need daily attentiveness, small pauses, honest check-ins, moments where you ask inwardly, is this aligned? Before moving forward. These practices keep the channel open. Beloved, Archangel Michael emphasizes something crucial here. Distraction is the most common enemy of listening. Not obvious chaos, but subtle noise. Endless input. Constant scrolling. Too many opinions shaping your thoughts. When your inner world is crowded, guidance has less space to surface. Michael says guarding your attention is now part of your obedience. This does not mean withdrawing from life. It means choosing where your focus rests. Silence is not absence of sound, it is absence of competition. Create space where guidance can rise naturally. Even a few minutes of stillness daily strengthens discernment more than hours of effort. Archangel Michael also speaks about emotional regulation. Strong emotions can distort perception if left unchecked. This does not mean suppressing emotion, but acknowledging it without letting it lead. Michael says guidance is calm, even when it urges action. Anxiety rushes. Discernment steadies. Learn to recognize the difference. Beloved one, you will encounter moments ahead where listening requires restraint. Moments when reacting quickly feels easier than pausing. Michael says restraint is not weakness. It is authority. Authority over impulse. Authority over fear. Authority over old patterns. This is also a season where accountability matters. Not public exposure, but personal honesty. Be truthful with yourself when you sense resistance returning. Name it. Address it. Silence loses power when acknowledged early. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience is strengthened through reinforcement. That is why continued engagement with truth matters. When messages like this resonate, do not consume them passively. Interact with them. Like this video as an act of agreement. Share it so others are reminded to listen. Comment with what you are practicing or guarding right now. Subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because consistency protects sensitivity. These actions keep awareness active rather than dormant. Beloved, Michael wants you to understand that spiritual hearing is not fragile. It is responsive. It responds to how you treat it. Honor it, and it strengthens. Ignore it, and it quiets. You are now aware of this pattern, and awareness changes everything. There may be times ahead when guidance feels repetitive. Do not dismiss it. Repetition is often reinforcement, not redundancy. Heaven repeats what matters most until it is embodied, not just understood. Archangel Michael also cautions against comparison. Do not measure your listening against others. Discernment is personal. What is clear to you may be unclear to someone else, and vice versa. Stay faithful to what you are given. Comparison dilutes clarity. Beloved one, the enemy of alignment is not failure, it is complacency. Assuming you can coast once clarity returns. Michael says stay intentional. Alignment is maintained, not stored. As you practice this, you will notice discernment becoming second nature. Decisions will feel cleaner. Boundaries will feel easier. Peace will feel more consistent. These are signs that listening has become integrated, not forced. Archangel Michael also reveals that your obedience now sets a precedent. Future decisions will reference what you do in this season. Responding promptly now makes future responsiveness easier. Delay makes future delay more tempting. Choose wisely. Beloved, if at any point you feel yourself drifting again, return to stillness before seeking more information. Stillness resets signal faster than surgery. You do not need more input, you need clarity. Michael stands with calm assurance now. He says you are capable of sustaining what has been restored. You are not starting from zero, you are starting from awareness. That is strength. Before moving forward, let this reminder anchor you. Hold on, because what is coming next will reveal the reward attached to sustained listening, and why your obedience now unlocks something you have been waiting for longer than you realize. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now reveals the reward that has been quietly waiting on the other side of your sustained listening. This is not a reward in the sense of payment, but in the sense of release. Michael says there are things you have been praying for that could not move forward while your discernment was muted. Not because you were unworthy, but because clarity is required to steward what is coming. Michael shows that heaven protects certain answers until the listener is ready to receive them without fear, distortion, or misuse. What you are approaching now carries responsibility. It requires discernment that is stable, not reactive. This is why the process mattered. This is why restoration came before revelation. Beloved, the reward of listening is not always something added to your life. Sometimes it is something removed. Confusion lifts. Emotional heaviness thins. Restlessness quiets. And in that space, peace takes root. But peace is not passive. It is directional. It helps you recognize what aligns and what does not without struggle. Archangel Michael says that as you continue to listen, you will notice doors opening with less resistance. Not because life becomes effortless, but because you will be positioned correctly when opportunity appears. Timing will feel smoother. Decisions will require less second-guessing. This is alignment at work. Michael also reveals that something you once asked for but later stopped expecting is returning to the surface. Not in the same form you imagined, but in a way better suited to who you are now. Had it arrived earlier, it would have overwhelmed you. And now, it will strengthen you. Beloved child, there is also restoration of trust coming, trust from others and trust within yourself. When discernment dulled, confidence wavered. As clarity stabilizes, confidence follows naturally. People will sense this steadiness. They will trust your words again, your decisions again, your presence again. Not because you demand it, but because alignment carries credibility. Archangel Michael says this season will also bring confirmation, not dramatic signs, but quiet affirmations. Things will fit again. Conversations will align unexpectedly. Opportunities will arrive at the right time. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that listening had been restored. Beloved, understand this carefully. The reward is not instant gratification. It is sustainable progress. What unfolds next will not require constant correction. It will build, slowly, steadily, slowly. This is why heaven took time with you. Michael also speaks about peace in motion. You will learn that peace does not require stillness. You can move, decide, and act without losing it. That is a sign of maturity. That is what sustained listening produces. There is also a renewed sense of purpose emerging. Not a grand assignment announced from the sky, but a quiet certainty about what matters and what does not. You will stop chasing distractions that once seemed important. Focus will sharpen. Energy will return. Beloved one, Archangel Michael says something deeply reassuring now. You were never behind. You were being prepared differently. Comparison made you feel delayed, but heaven was calibrating you for a path that requires discernment more than speed. That path is opening. Michael shows that what comes next will test your listening gently, not harshly. You will have opportunities to choose alignment without pressure. Each choice will reinforce clarity. Each response will deepen trust. Beloved, this is also a season where gratitude matters. Gratitude anchors awareness. When you acknowledge clarity, it multiplies. When you appreciate peace, it stabilizes. Gratitude keeps listening relational rather than transactional. Archangel Michael encourages you to remember how silence felt, not with regret, but with reference. Use it as a reminder of what happens when discernment is ignored. Not to shame yourself, but to stay attentive. Memory can be a teacher when it is not a prison. There may still be moments of uncertainty ahead. That is normal. Listening does not remove humanity. It guides it. When uncertainty arises, return to what you have learned. Stillness before action. Peace before confirmation. Alignment before comfort. Beloved child, heaven is not waiting to correct you constantly. Heaven trusts you more now than before. The trust is a gift, and it grows when honored. As this message approaches its final movement, Archangel Michael says this is a sealing moment. What has been restored is meant to remain. What has been learned is meant to be lived. And what has been awakened is meant to guide you forward. Stay present. Stay responsive. What comes next will bring closure to this message and activation to what you have received. This is where listening becomes commitment, and awareness becomes action. My precious child, as this message reaches its final unfolding, Archangel Michael stands with authority and tenderness, sealing what has been spoken over you. This is not an ending, it is an activation. Michael says everything you have heard was not meant to inform you, but to position you. Awareness without response fades, but awareness with commitment transforms. And right now, heaven is watching what you choose to do with what you know. Archangel Michael reminds you that listening is a covenant, not a convenience. It is a relationship built on trust, attention, and response. When you listen, heaven leans in. When you respond, heaven releases more. This cycle is now restored in you. The silence that once felt heavy has been broken, not by noise but by agreement. Beloved, Michael speaks clearly now. There will be moments ahead when you are tempted to treat this message as a memory instead of a mandate. Do not do that. Let it remain active in you. Let it shape how you decide, how you pause, how you move. Listening is no longer something you visit when life feels uncertain. It is now how you live. Archangel Michael says the greatest protection you carry forward is discernment practiced daily. Not dramatic spirituality, but faithful attentiveness. The kind that notices subtle shifts. The kind that chooses alignment even when no one is watching. That is where strength lives. Beloved one, heaven is not asking you to be perfect. Heaven is asking you to be responsive. When you respond quickly, correction is gentle. When you delay, correction becomes louder. You now understand this pattern, and understanding gives you authority to break it permanently. Michael also says something powerful here. What almost slipped away has now been secured. Not because you held it tightly, but because you chose to listen again. Sensitivity restored is more resilient than sensitivity never tested. You are stronger now than before the silence. Beloved child, you will walk forward with clearer boundaries, calmer confidence, and quieter certainty. You will not need constant reassurance. You will recognize truth by the peace it carries. And when distractions try to compete again, you will notice them sooner and respond faster. Archangel Michael wants you to hear this deeply. Heaven is pleased with your willingness. Not impressed by performance, but pleased by posture. A listening heart is the most powerful position a soul can hold. From this posture, guidance flows naturally. As this message closes, Michael does not chow. He affirms. He says you are realigned. You are reattuned. You are re-anchored. What comes next in your life will unfold with greater clarity because you chose to listen when it mattered. Now, mark this moment. Seal it with intention. Type "I stay listening" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing Code 2024 has just been released. This is where listening becomes legacy. When you support this mission through super thanks, channel membership, or PayPal donation, you are helping awaken souls who are still standing at the edge of silence. The Lord declares, what you release into my work, I release back into your life, pressed down and overflowing. I speak to you directly now. This is your moment to respond. Not later, not someday, but now. Your support is a prophetic act that keeps this voice reaching those who only have moments left to listen. Heaven records obedience expressed through generosity, and blessing follows alignment. Take action now. Use super thanks. Join the membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, and let your seed carry this message where it must go.